ended up jobless after being fired before COVID, because I didn't bring on enough outbound business. I was closing plenty of stuff that was coming inbound. But, the message here is it wasn't the first time I've been laid off with the whole team before. I had chosen to leave companies before. I've been fired once a month before everybody was let go. I'm like, you must really hate me to let me go, to fire me a month before everyone got laid off. And maybe that was the case, but I had a lot of different experiences in the tech world. And I spent the last 10 years or so in technology, from SaaS companies to marketing agencies, with digital marketing. And boy, did I have a lot of ups and downs. So RevGenius came out to really help folks like me understanding that in the revenue position, sales, marketing, rev ops in technology, there's more stress than I had the previous whatever time. I empathize with sellers and now marketers and rev ops folks. And that's why we've been able to grow so fast, because of that empathy and creating what the space needs.
Landing a great job opportunity is sometimes very challenging. Breaking into tech and getting hired as a sales rep can be even harder. When I was applying to my first sales jobs, I also struggled with the unknown. What to expect, what the tech industry was like, and how do I break in? After years of being an SDR myself, I've decided to build something I wish I had in the beginning. My name is Stefan, and in the SDR Hire podcast, I interview successful SDRs and salespeople who share their stories straight from the trenches. Learn how they got their first job offers, how they succeed every day in their roles, and what makes them stand out in their organizations. We all have what it takes. We just need someone to remind us of the opportunity and give us a better chance for success. Let's get your next SDR gig. Hey, welcome back to the SDR Hire podcast. I'm your host, Stefan, and this is a place where you can learn from top producing salespeople what it's like actually working in tech sales. How do you break in? What do companies look for? And how to succeed as an SDR, all for free. And today, we have another special episode. I have the pleasure of chatting with Jared Robin. For those who don't know, Jared, he's one of the founders of the world's probably biggest tech sales community called RevGenius. Over more than 15 plus years, Jared has been dominating the world of sales as an account executive, director, VP across multiple startups. And today, next to running the community, he's involved in over half a dozen startups as an advisor. And the reason I was so keen to speak with Jared is because he sees the SDR role a bit different than the majority of the tech world. Very much aligned, actually, with how I see it myself. So I can't wait to dive in and hear Jared's story. Dude, super cool to have you on.
So nice to be here.
Awesome. This is so weird and strange because I've known you for so long, but we haven't had really a chance to speak other than the intro last week. So this is really cool for me too.
Awesome. This is going to be awesome. I'm excited to be here.
Hell yeah. Okay, so let's just start with your background and basically how did you end up in tech sales, and then we're gonna roll out from there.
Absolutely. How old am I now? Probably about 15 years-ish.
Yeah.
15 years-ish experience in sales, varying levels. I spent the first 7 years working for a company called FedEx, in selling logistics against UPS and DHL and USPS. Did very well there. As well as you could do. I was the number one seller. I had a clear path to management or handling bigger accounts, but I chose to go into tech. And the reason for that was my ambitions didn't feel like they were being satisfied there because, working for a Fortune 100 company, there's not a lot of creativity in how to do the role. They tell you exactly what you need, KPIs, very, very granular, even down to when I left, they were saying when our first call had to be. Like managing a territory of $20 million, you're telling me I have to have my first call by by 10 a.m. face to face, right? And I get that, and it's good. It's easier to scale that way, but it really stifled my ambition because like I was just a person executing granularity KPIs, right? How many calls per day?
Sounds
And
boring.
we hear that with SDRs as well, and AEs for that matter too. But there were so many more than just that, and I'm like, I feel like I could be here forever because it's comfortable. I'm doing well, but I also feel like if I'm here forever, my ambition won't be satisfied. And so I went into early stage, which was a trip going from Fortune 100 to seed stage startup where the product didn't even work. And oh boy, like I didn't even have accounts in Salesforce, right? Like, so like ICPing like for the company, and we had a 2-person sales team, and through lots of trials and tribulations, we went to Series A profitably. And that was hell. That was full cycle. And
How long did it take you to get to Series A?
2 years-ish.
Pretty cool.
Shocked that we had the runway. We had $1.5 million last us that long. We did have some revenue coming in, but you get the idea. I wasn't getting paid on time, you can imagine. And some people in the company weren't getting paid. It was scrappy. And then bounced around like enterprise sales, made a bit more money for a little bit, but didn't want to do it. Then went into some leadership positions elsewhere, and ended up jobless after being let go, fired before COVID, because I didn't bring on enough outbound business. I was bringing on closing plenty of stuff that was coming inbound. But, the message here is it wasn't the first time I'd been let go, laid off with the whole team before. I had chosen to leave companies before. I've been fired once a month before everybody was let go. I'm like, you must really hate me to let me go, to fire me a month before everyone got laid off. And maybe that was the case. But I had a lot of different experiences in the tech world, and I spent the last 10 years or so in technology, from SaaS companies to marketing agencies, with digital marketing. And boy, did I have a lot of like ups and downs. So RevGenius came out to really help folks like me understanding that in the revenue position, sales, marketing, rev ops in technology, there's more stress than I had the previous whatever time, and less help from others, less help from your company, right? Than a bigger company. And I don't want to blanket and say tech, but like early stage tech. So that ended up with RevGenius, and I'm like, I empathize with sellers and now marketers and rev ops folks, and that's why we've been able to grow so fast, because of that empathy and creating what the space needs.
Oh yeah. I've been a part of RevGenius. I think it was late 2020, maybe early 21. I'm not really sure anymore. And I've always found it very useful, especially in the beginning. There were so many channels that you can I was literally scrolling through Slack and just learning literally, because as you mentioned, companies often don't really offer a lot of coaching, they just don't have the processes and systems in place. And for example, myself, I had to learn everything that I learned all by myself, more or less. And it really there is a huge gap. So I think what you're doing there is pretty amazing. Before we jump into RevGenius, I just want to take a look at the things that you're currently doing outside of RG, which is you are advising so many companies. What does that look like compared to being laid off just several years ago, and today you're an advisor in all of these companies? What does being an advisor there look like?
It's a great question.
Hey there. I wanted to let you in on a couple of additional resources available other than the podcast and the social media content. So I recently started a newsletter where I break down the best pieces of advice from the podcast about getting hired, how to be a top performing sales rep, into actionable nuggets that you can apply literally as soon as you read them. And in addition, if you're currently looking for an SDR role, you can fill out a form to let me know, and I'll do my best to help put you in front of tech companies hiring for SDRs. All right, back to the show.
It's cool. I had always wanted to help companies shape their GTMs, but when I was an early stage seller, an early stage sales leader, I never had that opportunity. And I think a lot of it was because I probably, from a leadership position, I didn't have a ton of success scaling companies myself. Like we did pretty well, but so others were brought in. The advisor role has evolved, and where it used to be somebody that worked for like a unicorn company, that the company had a good name, that they had a spectacular resume scaling it, like that's still part of it, but it's evolved to folks that are seen a lot in the space, helping, right? Like more people that are active on LinkedIn. And what's super cool, while I didn't get an advisor for my past experience, and I had one role, like a small one, but like not to the level it was with such amazing high growth companies, phenomenal companies with spectacular leaders. It's because now what I've built and what I understand is something that not a lot of people have built or understood, yet everybody understands the value or senses that it's extremely valuable. Community today is where social media was 15 years ago. Okay. People sense it's important, but they're not really sure of the KPIs they should be looking at, not really sure where it should live, not really sure how to message people appropriately, and how different people need different messaging and stuff like that. So I'm so fortunate today to be an advisor for companies, helping them with something I didn't know, because I'm part of this really nascent and important space. And these companies that have tapped me to advise are aware of it and aware of the importance of it, conscious of it, and wanting to embrace it and use it as a lever for their GTM. And that's super cool. So, you know, I speak with them monthly or more frequent cadence. And yeah, help discuss how the market is today. Because in addition to the community being new and all of that, because I have a community of sales, marketing, RevOps leaders and professionals,
yeah,
I'm also seeing a ton of what's going on and what's working for other companies. So the community element and the vision of the whole space, because go-to-market is evolving and people get it, but they also sometimes need somebody in their corner that has even more visibility than they do.
Yeah. I love how I love how the community and the vast majority of people and different people, different roles, different perspectives has enriched basically you and your team to be able to deliver that exponential value to companies trying to be innovative in this in revenue space in general. So this is very awesome, and it's a good intro to the RevGenius community and the stuff that you're doing there. So like, you know, you kind of touched upon this. How did the idea of RevGenius you know, come across your mind, and what were the first steps? How did you start it? Like, what were those early days?
Yeah, I needed to get a job, right? I told you I lost my job about a month before COVID. Coincidental timing.
Yeah.
And I had tons of interviews, which dwindled to none. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go, because it was COVID.
Yeah.
No one was hiring. Hiring freezes, people were getting laid off. Some similarities to what's going on now, unfortunately. But things were dire, like very, very dire. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to get interviews. So I wanted to be active, and it was more than just reaching out to hiring managers. Sure, did that. More than applying. And I'm like, I'm going to do even more, and I'm going to build a community. And that was funny. And so it started with posting every day on LinkedIn, actually, that planted the seed. Saw other people doing it as well, threw a bunch of people into a DM group and broke the DM, broke the LinkedIn app every single day, and realized we had a community, and there's probably others that want to join. And we kept inviting more people, and moved it over to Slack because the members asked, and defined what it is that we were building, and did it.
That's cool. So it was more or less completely organic transition from LinkedIn DM to a Slack community, which is counting how many members today? Like 30-ish.
32,000. Yeah.
There we go. 32,000 sales, marketing, and revenue operations professionals sharing their knowledge. Amazing.
And it's key to have all three of those in here, right? Like, and customer success under there as well.
Exactly.
Because I know a lot of your questions will be going towards like SDRs and all of that. And I want to preface it, sneak ahead and say the titles are evolving.
Mm-hmm.
The people are evolving to allow the titles, and the alignment is evolving. So if you just look at sales, like, you're not looking at the complete picture, and you're not allowing for the evolution of the space.
Yeah, you're kind of foreshadowing everything that I do want to ask you.
Sorry, I cheated.
No, all good, all good. That's cool. So one topic in our intro that really, really left a huge impression on me was, companies actually setting SDRs up for failure. That's kind of how I phrased it. So, why do most companies fail at the SDR function? Why do most companies fail at setting up folks for success in the SDR role?
I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons. Hiring people and managing to spreadsheets, like an SDR is supposed to do this many meetings, this much pipeline, and all of that. Telling them how they should be getting those numbers. It worked for me, however many years ago. Cold calling. You need to be cold calling. Well, things have evolved. Be open to that. I think alignment is big. I don't
What do you
have
mean
the
when you say
stats.
alignment?
Sales development being aligned to marketing versus sales. Because I don't have the stats, and I need to get them. But I sense more SDRs are hitting their numbers based on where they're aligned. And I spoke to a nice little anecdote that's kind of relevant to setting the organization up for success. Yesterday, I spoke to a head of marketing, and we were talking about how their responsibility is the same as an SDR's responsibility. Get qualified meetings and qualified pipeline.
Yep.
But he's talking about being in different orgs. I'm like, didn't you feel like you were competing against them? He's like, absolutely. And I'd go and listen to their conversations to help me. I'm like, that does not sound efficient. So when you have inefficiencies, they build on each other, and you're not setting anyone up for success. So you have SDRs with systems to not help them as well. They might be just shooting 200 to 250 emails a day because a sales engagement platform allows them to, that somebody else bought for them. When in reality, that's how, if you have a team of 10 each doing that, and your emails are because you don't have somebody really to help, you're now landing in spam all the time. So now, so what works better, email, whatever, versus cold calling versus social selling? Let's make sure that you have all of them available when you're answering that question. If you're landing in spam and email is not working for you, well, one, why the hell don't you have better practices? oftentimes the marketing department knows what to do better, like, to be honest. And also serving them up better intent signals. Sales does not have access to all of them. And the best sales development reps are doing the marketing job for themselves.
That's right.
Even if they're cold calling, they're setting up those lists based on scraping websites, seeing who's hiring, see who raised funding, intent-driven signals. So people are failing in the sales development function because not everybody has the wherewithal to like build all of that themselves, and companies are putting them on an island, sometimes aligned wrong, sometimes with what they think is the right tooling, but it's not. Like, oh, we gave them outreach or sales loft. That's good. But if you don't empower them to land in the inbox with it, what good is that? In fact, you could argue that it's worse than writing individual emails that will land in the inbox, no matter what it says. People are like, oh, my open rate is this or not. Nobody's looking at delivery rate for emails. With cold calling, I love getting good tools, but like what empowers an SDR even better is getting good lists. Right? You could have the best tool in the world. If you line it with the phone book going A to Z, but we don't do that. We don't do that. It's just technology companies in New York City that have raised $10 million with 100 employees. And I'm only doing that to directors, they say to me. Okay, good. That's better. But how do you know which ones are ready right now? What if you have a warmer list to do that? And it's alignment. It's also marketing helping. And frankly, it's marketing led.
Yeah.
To help empower sales development, you need to be a marketing led company.
You said so many things there. It's something that I've seen. Like, okay, obviously, I haven't spoken to as many companies as you have, but in my limited experience, a lot of companies are either marketing oriented and then they hate sales, or are sales oriented and then they hate marketing. And that hurts me when I see it every time, because it's such an inefficient process. First of all, ego, but let's like put that aside. It's just inefficient. You're just wasting money. And like, also, like, marketing makes these mistakes as much as sales does. For example, okay, here's a list of, everybody who attended our webinar.
Mm-hmm.
So what? I mean, is that intent data? I mean, I wouldn't call it that. And then on the other hand,
it's more than not in a lot of cases.
Totally agreed. Totally agreed. But on the other hand, we've got, sales, and we've got sales leaders who are like, okay, dial this list, like you said, but who's going to be, who will want to buy? And they're like, well, it's your job to figure it out. So what to do with that? Like,
yeah, wait, we need Orem or Connect and Sell. You do need that. I love those tools, but you also need better data, better lists.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing. So what would you say, like, what are right now some essential skills for the SDR role?
Hey everyone, I started SDR Hire in the first place to help as many of you as I can to land your next job, become better at sales, and just help you propel your career. So if you're finding value in this content and you know somebody who will benefit from it, please share it with them, tag them in a post, send them via text, share it wherever you share stuff with your community. And as always, all of this is completely free and is here to help everyone succeed. So your recommendation goes a long way. I appreciate you, and let's get back to the show.
You need to be creative. You need to be creative. You need to figure out, you need to understand your territory. You need to be gritty, figure out who's the most likely to buy from that, assuming that you're not being empowered by other departments. You have to do that job, or even if you are being empowered and enabled the right way, communicate with the alignment as such about what you're seeing and stuff like that. But just, you need to be a self-starter. You need to be gritty. You need to be tenacious, you need to be empathetic, and you need to be not salesy.
I love the fact that you literally haven't mentioned one single hard skill. Even though I asked you, like, what are the skills to succeed as an SDR? It's all soft skills. And I want to emphasize this because people often start grabbing onto.
Did you go to college?
Exactly. Like college degree, knowing how to do cold calls. Like you're gonna learn all of that. It's not about that. It's about the mindset. It's about being gritty. It's about like being creative, like all of the things that you mentioned. And so I do want to emphasize this message to the audience because it's so important. Like you'll learn all those hard skill things, right?
And like one channel to the next and all of that, the best SDRs are completely objective over it. They're like, let's say that they're all equal and let's figure out what works best for my product, my personality, my everything. And they test all of it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't test all of it, you don't know. I don't like cold calling. I don't like emailing. You have to test it. You have to test it to see if it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And know how to test it. I mean, so many things.
Well, have measurable goals, right? Like if I spend an hour a day cold calling, I want to get 2 meetings from that. Dope. And then I'm looking to get 2 more meetings a day. These numbers I'm saying like are more than everybody listening is getting, right? Like, but like you set them and you'll get them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you don't like, or you're not successful, then figure out why. And all of that, and make sure you have good data.
Yeah, that's right. Although I would add to that, like the process that you're going through, for example, doing those cold calls,
Sure.
like have a process around it. Don't do just a different thing every time you call, like do the same thing every time you call, and then do it for a week or for a month, and then change up and see what happens differently. See what changes when you change one thing, which is basically A/B testing. But what I'm saying is like have a structured approach to testing things rather than just, okay, I'm going to call. And then like every call is different just for the sake of testing properly.
Well, absolutely. On the cold call note, I'm a firm believer that it's not what you say as much as how you say it.
100%.
It's knowing your product. It's knowing the pain. I could call anybody without a script. I say, I'm calling you because of this reason. I thought it would be a no-brainer for you. That's why I'm calling you.
Yeah.
And all of this. And it's all about, dude, the same script is given to 10 people on your team. Why are some people hitting their numbers and some people getting fired?
Yep. There we go.
It's because of the delivery. So it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Thank you.
So would you say it's because of experience or of those individuals?
So I think it's core confidence and just like it's a core confidence thing.
So do you think it can be learned?
Yes, 100%. And you could build muscles from trial, right? Like you could push past it. But you need to build those muscles for sure. And you could do that. And truly understanding the problem you solve.
Yeah.
You truly understand the problem you solve. You win that I
agree. No, I agree. Totally.
Not many companies understand the problem that they solve for their clients.
Yep. Yeah. And so many SDRs that are new in the role actually have to figure out by themselves what the product does, who's it for, and then what the problem it solves and what's the specific pain that they can address in each conversation, right? Again, going back to those red flags when it comes to companies, which leads me to my next question, which is like, what would you advise to somebody who's trying to break in or landing an SDR role? Like how to avoid those pitfalls? How to what questions?
Find the right company.
Yeah.
So there's 2 things, right? Like getting the job and making sure you have the right job. And sometimes people to get the job, they don't pay attention to some like flags that are going on because they just want to get a job if they're out of work. to get a job, do the job. Have a list of 10 to 20 companies that are hiring that you believe you're perfect for and have a reason for that, right? I want to work for Gong because I've been selling to sales leaders for the past year and a half, crushing quota, and I want to keep continuing sales leaders because it's easy for me. Do you want me because it's easy for me? Well, no, Jared, we don't. We want somebody who's hard for it. No, like it's a no-brainer. No-brainer.
Yeah.
Right? Like connect those dots easily. With the 10 to 20, right? Like if you're going from not SaaS to SaaS, I worked for FedEx, right? How'd I get in? I said, these are e-commerce businesses I already sell to. I want to work in e-commerce. And they said, damn, like you are the most important person that sells to them because you're delivering the packages, right? Cool. Let's have the conversation. So direct that. Reach out to them outside, any which way, email, phone, LinkedIn. Cool. Send them a video, whatever. Just reach out to them. Back channel network with them. When you're on the interview, one thing that I preach is ask questions at the beginning of the interview. What?
Right.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Ask questions at the beginning of the interview. What questions do I ask? Stefan, your top performing reps on your team. What are the qualities that they have? Right? You're going to say they're gritty, they're creative, right? And then later in the interview, you're going to say, Jared, tell me a time when you did something to help somebody. I said, here's where I exhibited grittiness. Here's where I exhibited creativeness. And then you as the hiring manager, like,
it's a no-brainer.
Wow, I actually got a job on the spot, like my first job after college. And the second thing is, listen, I get hitting my numbers is top priority. All good. Like I'm signing up for this. What would my other top priorities be outside of that? Right? Because nobody just wants that lone wolf. Like we want this and this. Perfect. Those two questions. Now you know how to feed it back for the SDR role in particular. That won't work with other roles as easily. But for entry-level roles, you just showed how you could sell. And then at the end, when you say, do you have any questions or concerns about continuing the process? They say, absolutely not. When can you start? I was closed by the VP of sales as a 23-year-old asking those questions without any experience. Imagine if you have a little chops. With a company that had been acquired twice after I joined. I left way too early, but you get the idea. Seamless.com, if you're familiar with it, the food ordering platform.
Oh, yeah.
So on the spot, closed the VP of sales as a top 50 employee.
That's
as a college grad. So
yeah, it's doable.
You could do it. So now it's understand, like, how can you figure out if it's the right company for you? And I think this is important. Today, there's more resources than there's ever been. RepView does a pretty good job at giving you more data than you were able to get previously, and more than like a Glassdoor does. Also back channel with people that work there, and ask the questions that you need, right? Like when you're asking questions at the front of the interview, like what traits did the reps have? And the answer comes back, they work 80-hour weeks, and that's not you, right? Like, and that could be not you, and that could be you. Great. You qualified it out, right? Like, and the answer comes back and says, they work weekends or they focus so much. They have no side hustles and all of this. I don't know if they would say that, but you get the idea. You get the idea. If they say something that's a non-starter, and I'm a firm believer that side hustles are great, but if you work for another company, that has to be your number one priority. Otherwise, you're not setting yourself up for success there.
That is so true. That is right. Yeah. I like exactly. So, you covered, yeah. So what are some of those, I mean, yeah, I guess you already answered. What I was going to say is, like, what are some of those red flags that you would kind of point out to? But I think it's actually individual, because like you said, like if you know working 80 hours a week isn't your thing, and that's kind of what makes a successful rep in the company, then it's a red flag. But for example, what I've seen myself do is ignore the red flags. For example, I need a job, or I like the company, so I'm kind of, you know, taking a blind eye towards some of those red flags. What would you like suggest, you know, to kind of overcome those, especially for the fresh people off college that have had zero experience, life and work experience, like, you know?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand there's like a few levels of flags. Like one, it's the organization. Like, are they fostering people getting promoted? Are they fostering people hitting quota? Are they fostering work-life balance, or whatever is important to you? And then there's the hiring manager. Is the hiring manager doing that, right? Because you can have an org that is doing that and having a hiring manager that's a little different. That happens. You can have an org that's mediocre with a phenomenal hiring manager and have a really great experience there. It works both ways. And then you have to think product market fit. Like, is it a saturated product? Are you is it a place where you have some logos on, right? Like, and you could say like, hey, we work with Microsoft, this, and this. If you're going after companies like that, is it a place that has successful case studies? Is it a place that is either profitable or has funding, enough funding and enough runway? So like, those are all big things, especially early in your career. You're probably not going to ask all of that because you're in a different mindset, right? Like this is all really great. And you know, it's funny, like, even if you do ask it, you're not going to know how to rebound with it. Like, so they say like, 70% of the team hit quota. Like, is that good? Is that bad? Like as an SDR, do you know, like sounds like above 50. Should they be at 100? Is that an unreasonable expectation? So, you know, there is some of that, but like, you want to go to a place where you could close some business or open some business, right? Like, and people, and also that there's still a market to have, right? Because if you go to a place like a Gong, like an Outreach, and you're new and you're given like a new exploratory space, and their market is like quite saturated.
Yeah.
Like, you might just be in a really great organization, in a role that doesn't make sense. And I'm, you know, giving a couple names like randomly, right? Like, if you're part of that exploratory team to see if a new market works, it sounds exciting.
Yeah, but what happens? What happens when
so
the market,
you know,
isn't a good fit?
It might not, and you know, there's an argument to be had to just get in a good company, period, right? Like, and to make it work, and to be that person. But like, they're all things to consider. It's just devil's advocacy, even on like companies that are like the leading companies in the space.
Yeah. So cool. Okay. I'm gonna just kind of start winding down. I have another question for you, and then we can go into the rapid fire questions and kind of wrap it up.
Boy.
Cool. Okay.
I'm rapidly ready.
Okay, but before that, so what's next for you? So maybe a better question is for what's next for RevGenius, but like in general, like, what are your next steps? Where do you want to go? What would be a challenge for you in the next, like, I don't know, 5 years?
5 years.
Okay.
So for 2023, we want to get better at everything. We've retooled our team. We have a phenomenal group of individuals, and I brought in an awesome COO to help us scale. This next year, I see us being much more strategic, much better tooling, much more analytical about growth, about bringing revenue on, and about helping people in the space. From a product standpoint, we'll do like in a business model standpoint, with the sponsorships will evolve. We'll do more. We'll do in-person events. Rev League will evolve. we'll do more RevOps, demand gen, sales development, sales leadership, as well as individual contributor levels, and build out really good learnings there. And we'll probably make a bet on an on-site content play, but our content will improve, will level up, to help us hit our growth goals and help our community hit their goals in the process. It's very synergistic and aligned. And we're going to just have better content across the board and more people engaging in it. So that's for next year. The following year and beyond, I think you're going to see, and in the process, we're going to probably build tools to help us help members, tools that other communities probably could use. Are we going to sell that? I don't know. Not yet. But we understand what communities are feeling. We understand what people are feeling, but we also understand what communities are feeling because we're feeling it too. And we understand where they need to get to, and they don't always realize that. So we're going to get ourselves there. And in 2024 and beyond, you're going to see a switch, not even a switch, but like more of our scalable type programs, RevLeague being a crown jewel of that. Paid learning, cohort-based learning scale quite a bit. So that's the next couple of years. We're also going to, there's social media. We're building the next evolution of social media. It's community media.
You're gonna write that down.
It's not catchy enough, but the sentiment is there.
Yeah, I get you. No, I really resonated with your post that you had today, which is how the community is what social media used to be. And I think you're actually totally right, because it's evolved. It's completely evolved from what it used to be, and people are just craving for communities where they're basically doing the same things they used to in social media, right? Having profiles, having their own voices there, learning, educating themselves and others, as well as consuming content either to have fun or like whatever. So I very much resonated with what you said over there.
Yeah, man. It's the reason why community was like a hot word the last couple of years, and now people are like, oh, whatever, is because it's not easy. People love easy stuff. It's easy? A newsletter. I get that. Newsletter's easy. So people are like, let me do a newsletter. It's easy? Posting 7 days a week is easy on social media. It's not easy, but you know what I mean? Like it's easier than community. Managing 32,000, get off me. Like it's hard. And people and people that are very mission driven want to do that. RevGenius being one of them. We're not the only one. There's a handful of other spectacular communities in our space and dozens of phenomenal communities in adjacent spaces.
Definitely. Okay. That was really awesome. I wasn't really sure whether to ask you what's next for you or for RevGenius, but it seems like
That's
it's
cool.
more or less the same thing, right?
It's the same. Yeah. My what's next for me is aligning with our mission further. Like I'm not separating from RevGenius in the near future. We're one and the same.
Yeah, gotcha.
Although we will probably add a fund at some point, perhaps even 2023, like to fund companies.
Okay, I love that. That's gonna be fun. I want to talk about that more later. Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's jump into the rapid fire questions. It's gonna be really quick, and then we can wrap up. So, in your mind, what is currently the best SDR learning resource?
RevLeague.
When
we launch it again, it's going to be by far the best.
Awesome. Okay, I kind of asked you this, but maybe you can hone in on just one of those. What is the best SDR skill to have?
Creativity.
Yes. I love that. Speaking of creativity, who is the best SDR creator out there to follow?
I'm not
If
sure,
you
but I
can,
love I love Tom Slocum. I'm one of his biggest fans.
yeah, me too. Me too. Tom is an awesome guy. I had him on.
Yep.
Okay, so which is your favorite or go-to SDR channel, as an outbound channel?
Whichever one works.
Yeah, to your
Right.
point earlier.
Like I've scaled companies with just email. I've seen just phone work. Like
Mm,
it's case by case. I mean, email's easy. Well, it's not easy. It's easy to send. It's not easy to get replies. It's becoming harder and harder.
yeah, yeah,
So
totally
like,
agree.
whichever one, using your creativity, whichever you hit them with intent on, the three main ones: social, email, and phone.
Yeah, see what works, how it works. Nice. What is your, let's say, go-to cold call opener or an email opener? Like which one do you use? Although you did show me one earlier, but like what is like a go-to?
Um, for email, what I say, like, you want a line that draws connection, like deep connection, and then you want to jump right into it. And then for phone, frankly, I haven't made cold calls in a minute. I haven't had to, fortunately. But
Yeah.
I would just ring up somebody and say, what I used to say was, "Hey, Stefan, this is Jared with RevGenius. Did I catch you at a bad time?" "Yeah, it's a bad time." "Well, great. Let me know when would be a better time. I'll just need a minute." Out with it.
Mhm.
RevGenius is da 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 da. That's an old school Sandler sales. We used to do it. It works. Like, yeah, when would be better? I'll just need a minute. You say, does that sound like something you want to spend 5 more minutes on? And it's just asking permission along the way. But right now, I'd say, "Hey, Stefan, this is Jared with RevGenius," and I would lead with that because I have a big community, and you might know that,
Obviously.
right? And I'd be like, "Hey, I'm calling because I saw you just sponsored SaaStr. I also know that we haven't really talked, and I love your company. Like, you also just hired a head of demand gen. Does it make sense to set up time to talk about like what you could also do with RevGenius or not?"
Mhm.
Relevance.
Yes,
Like
yes.
I would just be like, and part of me, I'm the founder cold calling you, but like this would be my tone. "Stefan, I saw you
Mm,
just did something massive with SaaStr.
yeah.
Also saw that you did a little something with MSP and you hired a demand gen person. Like, is it safe to say you're going all out on community? Because if it is, I want in. Like, do you know RevGenius? Like, should we set up time? I like it'll either be no, who are you?
Mhm.
How was my tone? Right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like who are you?
I love
Rev
it.
what? Rev Genius. Go to your LinkedIn right now, Stefan. Oh, like why not leverage what you have?
Yeah, yeah. This was really cool, especially because um
You
like
built this whole brand. Why not leverage it on your outbound?
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
like, I
I
saw that you came
remember
to my fire talks. Yes,
there we go.
last week. Like, and you
Yeah.
looked at my profile 32 times and you went to our site. Are you just the biggest fan of Dooley or
Or
should we
there's some
chat?
interest.
Or should we
Yeah.
chat?
No, I would definitely take that.
It's a different way. Like, hi, Stefan. You have 27 seconds for me to tell you. Wow. Yeah, out with it, sir.
I don't know. I've never used that
Hey,
one. I guess it works,
I
but
like it. I let it go. I'm like, here, let me have it. Let me have it.
Okay, I love it. Okay, final question. What is your favorite tech sales acronym?
Wow. SaaS as a whole, SaaS,
Fair
tech
enough.
sales acronym. What else are there?
Uh, um,
SQL, MQL,
yeah, there's a gazillion. Like people are actually
API.
Yeah, I mean,
SaaS. Let's just say SaaS.
SaaS it
SaaS.
is.
It's the best one. It's the one that said the most.
That's right. Okay, dude, this was huge. This was really amazing. I love your perspective and how you approach creating sales development teams and what you first of all learn from other companies, and then what you expect and how you help other companies scale and grow and build the future of these revenue organizations. This is really awesome and insightful for me.
It's our community that does, right? I just get everybody in the room that knows more than me. And that's the key point with community.
Yeah.
You start it because you don't know everything, and you figure out who knows more and you invite them to the party.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's kind of how I invited you to the pod.
Thank you. I'm learning from you too, my friend. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Awesome. This was amazing. Is there anything you'd like to tell the audience before we wrap it up?
Yeah, follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. Come to RevGenius, revgenius.com /sign-up. Nice and easy. If you forget it, go to revgenius.com. There's a button on the top right. You could click that and say what's up to me in Slack. Say what's up to me wherever. Email me, jared@revgenius.com. Nice and easy. That's an under 25 people email. Any company that's under 25, it's the first name at. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that was rude of me. I didn't ask you where people can find you. And
No,
guys,
it's all good.
If you can't follow these instructions, you can just go to Jared's LinkedIn profile. That was my dog. And just click on the link on his profile. It leads you straight to the sign up page for RevGenius. So that's all. Awesome.
That's it, man. Thank you for your time. Everyone, thank you for listening. Hopefully I didn't make an ass of myself. Until next week.